dilation centered around A with a scale factor of 1/4. Well, we know this triangle has a center on A. This is different than our previous examples because our center is not in the middle of this shape. Our center is actually in this point. So instead of shrinking or expanding, instead of shrinking in the middle, we're going to be shrinking right this way because that's our center. Now, when you say a scale factor of 1/4, you're also saying it's a fraction. So you're actually going to make it smaller instead of bigger, right? It's like saying I want 1/4 of the money. You're not going to get more money. You're gonna lose 1/4 of your money. So it's getting smaller amounts. Well, with that in mind, let's talk about making this dilation. Well, to do this dilation, guys, we actually have to figure out first the distance from point A to the other points. Well, let's start with point C. How many do I need to go down to? Let's make it smaller thickness here. How many do I need to go down to touch point C? Well, listen, my y right now is 2. I want to go all the way to -6. So isn't that 8 going down? And how many to the right? Well, if my x originally was -6 and now it's +2, isn't it also 8 to the right? You guessed it. Now, if it's a scale factor of 1/4, you basically multiply 8 times 1/4. You do 8 times 1/4 to figure out the new size. Well, how do you multiply fractions? Simple. You put a 1 at the bottom, and when you multiply straight. What's 1 times 4? That's 8. What's 4 times 1? That's 4. And you get a 2 as the answer, correct? Well, that's basically how much you're moving down now. If you started the original, instead of going 8 down and 8 to the right, because, again, that's the same number, so that would also be a 2. Well, now we're going to go 2 down, and 2 to the right. Well, let's start. If I'm right here, I'm going to go 2 down, which will be at 0, and then 2 to the right, which will be here at -4. So that's my new point. That would be C prime, which would be -4, 0. So did you guys understand how I went 2 down and 2 to the right? Because if you multiply this by 1/4, it's the same number, so we would get the same 2 for these two. So we went 2 down and 2 to the right. Now let's figure out letter B. For letter B, let's figure out the distance. How many do I need to go up to reach B? Well, if I'm at 2, I want to go to 6. Isn't it 4 up? And how many to the right to get to that point B? Well, if I'm at 6 and this is -6, and I want to get to +6, isn't that 12 to the right? You guessed it. Now let's multiply that by 1/4 because that's the scale factor. Well, 1/4 times 4, isn't it just 1? And this one would be, well, what's 1 times 12? That's 12. 4 times 1, that's 4. Isn't that just 3? 3 to the right? Yeah. So originally, we're going to go 1 up, and then we're going to go 3. We're going to go 3 to the right. That would make my point C prime, which would be, if we're going 1 up, that will be a 3 on the y. If I'm going 3 to the right, that will be -3. And there it is. We found our C prime. And if I were to connect these dots, we would have our dilated triangle right there. So as you can see, we have the big triangle, and everything got smaller by 1/4. This is how you know you did it right, because it's a smaller triangle, and it's supposed to be 1/4 of the entire thing.